So tonight I watched a film I had been wanting to see for a while. It played at the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival, but I was not able to make it to any of the screenings, so I was really bummed. But when I saw the trailer starting to pop up at the Midtown Art Cinema, I was like, yes, I can finally see it. This is, of course, writer, director, and sometimes chef's feature film debut. His name is Ofir Raul Grazier, and it is a German Israeli co production. It's filmed in Berlin and Jerusalem. And it follows a baker, the titular cake maker, named Thomas, who begins an affair with a married Israeli businessman who comes to Berlin once a month. Um, they have been together for about a year when the businessman named Oren leaves, says he's going to be back, um, has accidentally left his keys behind, and Thomas tries to contact him, and his phone is off, and he's unable to contact him. A few weeks go by. Finally, Thomas goes by the man's Berlin office to check on him, only to discover he has died in Jerusalem. The next thing we know, Thomas has gone to Jerusalem to find his lover's family. There we meet Anat, played by Sarah Adler. She had just opened a cafe prior to, or was in the midst of opening a cafe prior to her husband's death. Now she's dealing with the opening of this cafe, being a widow, grief, and raising her son. So enter Thomas as a German student who is looking for work and slowly starts working at this cafe, starts baking, and the two come closer. However, obviously, we know, as Thomas knows, that there's a big secret that Anat does not know about him and about his her husband. The film then, peels back all those layers, and you discover things that you thought you knew that you didn't know, and all kinds of stuff. And what I particularly liked about the film was the way in which, at one point, Anat and Thomas begin a relationship themselves, but you never once really discuss the sexuality of Thomas. Does he only like men? Is he sleeping with her because it's a way of being closer to his lover again? You don't really know. Or does he like men and women? Who knows? It doesn't make that the focus. It's really more about his grief over the loss of his lover and his fascination with his lover's other family. And I thought that was really refreshing and fascinating, that it just accepted the fact that, everyone has all kinds of parts and everyone can fit all kinds of ways with people sexually, but really it's about that emotional connection and what that means for people, and the way that grief can bond people together, even when they don't know they're grieving for the same person. So I just thought it was fascinating. And then the writer-director, he is a chef himself, and the way he photographs food is just lovely. Beautiful cakes, beautiful sandwiches, all kinds of lovely shots of food and of preparing of food, and of the way in which eating sweets can make you feel better in times of sadness, and the way in which food brings people together. Thomas is not Jewish, but his lover and his lover's family was Jewish, and so there's a whole lot with Sabbat that, and the feeding of people and the eating of meals communally and then eating of meals alone. This film has a lot to say about all of this, and really great chemistry between all of the three, sort of love triangle, if you will, of the film. It's just a good film. I felt a lot of emotions when it was over. I wasn't sure how I felt, other than I love films that sort of take lonely people and throw them in situations where they are forced to not be, well, not be lonely, but not be alone, because lonely people can be alone and still be lonely. and this is a film that understands that lonely people can be around people and still be lonely. And I like that. I appreciate that because there's a big difference between being lonely and being alone. Um, I also was impressed this film was in 3 languages because, in England, or I mean, England, we're in America. In America, we speak, you know, English. Well, lots of people actually speak many languages in America, but if you're, Anglo-American, you speak English, and then you're like, oops, what are other languages? And I'm always impressed by countries where everyone is a polyglot. That should be the default everywhere, but this is my ugly American speaking. What else? It's just a lovely film. I loved the vibe of the film. It was very sort of tense and yet not a thriller. Romantic and yet not really a romance. Um, it just it never quite felt like anything else that I'd seen before, which I always enjoy when I see a movie and I'm like, this doesn't remind me of anything. It just reminds me of it. So now I'm going to see movies like this and be like, oh, it's like this one. So this is Ofir Raul Grazier's The Cakemaker. It is playing in select cinemas right now. If you're in Atlanta, you can see it at the Midtown Art Cinema. Unfortunately, I think it's only playing for a week, so you got to catch it before it's gone. But I highly recommend it. It's a great film about grief, about sexuality, about connections, about food, about family, about so many things, and it's just a lovely, lovely film.